look to them as examples for, oh, have they had a similar challenge they've had to address? A similar proposal come before them, what types of discussions occurred, what were the important pieces? That's where I would focus, yeah.
We're halfway there. Ms. Hutchison, how would you balance the diverse needs and viewpoints of students, parents, staff, and community members?
By talking to them, because at the end of the day, I can't write anyone's story. I know mine. I know, close family members, friends, but the best thing to do is to talk to them. I've done that in my space in nonprofit. I've done it in my space in healthcare. You don't understand a person's needs. You can't even sometimes even start to conjure up what their needs are until you've talked to them.
Okay. Ms. Bayless, how would you balance the diverse needs and viewpoints of students, parents, staff, and community members?
Communication connects everyone. So whether it's on a daily basis, an emergency basis, whatever the situation is, communication, accurate, well thought out communication connects everyone. And as a second part of communication is understanding. You can be a great communicator, but if you don't listen, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you have to be a really good listener too, to understand whatever the situation is, the problem, whatever their concern is, etc.
Ms. Bayless, how would you approach difficult budget decisions when resources are limited?
So that's actually pretty easy too. I mean, not easy to do, but easy to answer. The focus, like you asked earlier, how would we stay focused on the students? The focus is on the students, number one. And the second focus should be on their academics, okay? I know this is a big sports community. Sports is great. I'm very strong and believer in sports is very important in the school system because I think sports keeps many students in the classroom. I think a lot of kids would not necessarily stay in the classroom if it wasn't for their sports that they had to look forward to. I had experiences with many families that had kids that they thanked me for different things that I did because their students actually stayed in school instead of dropping out because their kids could still participate in sports. So sports are important, but you just really have to stay focused on the budget and do the best you can with the school system. I mean, curriculum really needs to be number one. The kids are here so we can educate them. Sports is great, it's fun, it keeps them in school, but when it comes right down to it, do we spend $700,000 to redo the fields or what have you when we need additional curriculum for math or whatever the case may be? Then the focus really has to be on the curriculum. I would focus on what benefits the students' educational futures as number one.
Ms. Hutchinson, how would you approach difficult budget decisions when resources are limited?
So I think there's definitely prioritization there that comes into play. I think of it probably a little bit more towards, think about regulations and regulatory things we have to meet as a school system that are whether they be state or federal guidelines. I think that has to be a consideration as well as meeting the needs of the students. I believe that meeting the needs of the students in terms of academic, sports, fine arts, special education, all the various pieces. I think there's much more of a kind of each one play into the success of students, the ability for students to be successful mentally, physically, and all those pieces. So I don't know that I would automatically kind of I wouldn't say, you know, okay, sports is what we have to cut, or fine arts is what we have to cut. The other thing is, I think, I always approach budget decisions with looking at the bigger picture, and are there other places where we're spending our money that we could spend less? We could shift spending to another year. We could look into grants. We could, you know, the courtyard's an excellent example. We partnered with a great local organization that was willing to put money back into the community. That was not just willing, excited and happy to do so. So is there something in our budget that would fit well with a local organization, or something? Work with the Thunderbolt Foundation? We're very lucky to have that as a nonprofit to help kind of ease that whole process. You know, what can we do to find unique and other ways? I mean, there are many times you're going to have to cut things you don't want to cut. It happens. But sometimes you can, I've found in my experience that sometimes the money's there, it's just hidden, and sometimes it's just moving things around a bit to get there. But I do think we need to keep in mind that what is success, what is their need in school for each student varies. And yes, we want them all to be academically excellent, but that may not be what speaks to that student and allows them to have a successful career in school.
Ms. Hutchison, how should the board maintain transparency and accountability to the community it serves?
I think definitely increasing accessibility to other times. Obviously, I realize this is when the board meetings are going to be. That's the time, because people are working around jobs. This is not a paid job. This is a volunteer situation, and you have to work in with the confines of the time you have available to you. But for families, especially, and I mentioned this the last time we did the interviews, you know, for families, these evening hours, especially with young children, especially families where the adults are working multiple jobs, or there is only one adult there in the family, coming to a board meeting like this, even, you know, watching, which is wonderful, you know, to have that can be really difficult. So being able to get the Cliff Notes version, which you talked about a little bit tonight, that idea of having like a synopsis of what happened. I think being out there more, you know, where we can, and being, and I don't know exactly what that looks like. Is that okay? We have events where we say, come ask the board member board member questions, where you have a table at Good Old Days, so that's manned by a board member or two board members at all times. Is it on a Saturday, setting up a table at Kenny's, ask question of the board? I mean, it's putting in more time of ours, definitely, but I think that's how you reach out and you do that. I think more discussion too. I think at the end of the day in the board meetings, and I know sometimes probably it's stuff that you're like, but I already know this, I don't need to discuss this. But the people that are watching, the people that are listening, may not have that understanding. And actually, Donna pointed out that the last meeting, you know, it's important to use different channels of communication too. You know, the survey, we mostly do that via the internet. You know, what if we were at, we stood at Kenny's on a Saturday with an iPad and stopped you, have you filled out the survey yet? Oh, here's an iPad, fill it out. You know, doing it different ways, so. Yeah.
Ms. Bayless, how should the board maintain transparency and accountability to the community it serves?
Well, besides following policies and procedures, and best practices, you need to get out and show the public that what they're getting for their tax dollars, and that the school system is very much involved with the community. So I haven't seen that since I've been here, actually. I haven't seen the school system really take a genuine, active role within the community. I mean, on like a regular basis. So, like the Current Tech Center, do they ever have evenings where to a very high esteem, and doing that so that you guys set an example for your administration and your faculty and staff that are under you. And you also, just as importantly, when you do that, you show and set an example for the students that are in this school system. And when you do that, you're just leading by example, and I think that would be fantastic. And that itself, that in and of itself would show transparency to the school system.
Ms. Bayless, how would you handle disagreements with other board members while still working toward collective goals?
So I spoke earlier about communication and listening skills. You really need to be just as good a listener as you do a communicator, because the two go hand in hand. I've been was a school board member for 10 years, a large school system. We had a lot of challenges. We really did. And we experienced a gun on campus at one of the high schools. We had emergencies that would come up where you had to bring in life flight. We had all sorts of things. And, you know, as long as you, whether it's an emergency situation or a calm, cool, collected, everyday situation where you just have communication between people, as long as you communicate well, be as just a good listener as you are a communicator, and genuinely share with the people you are communicating with that you care about their concern, you care about their situation, you can really pretty much handle almost anything with that. You just have to be genuine and truly listen and care about what their challenge or problem is, and communicate with them. You know, and there are going to be opportunities where not everyone agrees with everyone else. There's definitely, I mean, I'm not saying it's, you know, all flowery out there, but there's going to be days where you don't have people agree. But as long as everyone's able to express their own feelings and opinions, as long as they stay civil and respectful to each other and the board and the public, I think you can work through pretty much anything.
Ms. Hutchison, how would you handle disagreements with other board members while still working towards collective goals?
I have found in my experience that a lot of times when I have a disagreement with someone or feel like I'm not able to make a connection, it's because I've kind of defined a story in my head that may or may not be true, that about how that person's feeling and what they're thinking. So I think it's really important to ask questions about, to get better understanding of where a particular, maybe it's the way someone feels about a particular thing, where that's coming from. Okay, well, why? Well, let me understand. Well, asking questions, obviously, like we just talked about, listening, communication, but I think it's really being open-minded to really listen to those and ask continual questions to get better understanding. And then, you know, as you go through that, really, okay, well, here's an experience that I've had and why I may disagree or feel differently, or why this particular situation was uncomfortable, whatever it might be. I think it can be really helpful for teams to do some, and I've done this in the past with teams that weren't working well together, different types of, there's types of exercises and stuff where you start to understand why people think the way they do, or why, and I went through, not like, Myers-Briggs is one of them, there's far better ones now than Myers-Briggs, but they give you a better explanation about why people react the way they do, and it can really help your understanding to be able to have a better conversation and get better understanding of the other person. Not everyone here is going to agree, but if we agree to work as a team and we support each other in that, and we support the board as a whole at the end of the day, even if I didn't vote for the same thing that we're working on implementing. It's the team that has made that decision collectively, and I still have to serve my part. So.
Last one. Ms. Hutchison, what is your vision for the district in 5 to 10 years? And what role should the board play in achieving?
So I'm gonna start with the latter part. The board I see as the road signs and the guardrails. Here's the direction, we're gonna help you down that path. The superintendent, the administrators, the teachers, the staff are all on that road. And they're looking for you to make sure the path's clear and the snow's out of the way, and, sorry, sticking with my little analogy here, they can keep moving forward. So we're clearing a path, we're putting those in place. What does that look like? Our school's finished, first and foremost, the school's finished. I think it looks like students that are graduation ready. Whatever that means for them, that's going to be different for different students. That could be going into technical, going straight into the workforce. It could be, for certain students with special needs, it may be, something different. But they've reached that graduation ready stage. It's some of the same things I see today. It's the community at the football games. It's the community coming out to still see that, even though they haven't had a child in this school, or even maybe a grandchild in 20 years. It's staff that feel supported by their administration and their board, that they feel that they have their back. It's good, qualified, long tenured teachers staying here because they want to be in Littlestown. It's families that want to move to Littlestown because of that school having those good teachers and the good education pieces. Do I want to see testing scores go up? Yes, absolutely I do. But I don't think testing scores are the end all be all of success. They're just one part of a much larger picture that tells you if a district is successful. And I see the board as a part of the community where people in the community know them by face, know their names, and that people want to come out and be engaged in the various things we're doing as a district.
Ms. Bayless, final word is yours. What is your vision for the district in 5 to 10 years, and what role should the board play in achieving?
Well, my vision in 5 to 10 years for this school system would be to have every student at least at 80% proficiency, at least at 80% proficiency, if not higher. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't attain 95 or higher than that, but the proficiency standards right now, they need a lot of help. So I would say increase proficiency to at least college-ready level. Not that, I'm not saying that every kid would go to college, I'm not saying that, so just putting that out there. But the ones that want to go to college should be able to go. And right now, I don't see that in the academic performance of the kids, their ability right now. I'm sure that there's some that can, yeah, but I'd like to see all of them be able to just have that opportunity, whether they choose to go down that road or not, that's up to them. But I'd like to be able to see that, and I'd like to be able to see that the spirit and the energy of going to school, going through the whole process of starting out in kindergarten and graduating in 12th grade, and the kids throwing their hats in the air when it's graduation, they reflect on all the memories that they've had. Have that spirit live on in them through their future. Because you have them for so many years of their life that it should be a very happy and positive aspect of their life. their experience here at school. So, you know, a lot of kids do go to school and they don't get that experience. They don't have that, they don't get that feeling of spirit and, you know, sometimes it's really drudgery to go to school. And those are the kids that, if you can reach out and get some of those kids, that's fabulous. But yeah, you have to realize that whatever imprint we're putting on these kids in regards to, you know, a spirit and energy and a drive, so that it will take them in a very positive direction for their future, I would definitely say, yeah, I want to be part of that.
Thank you. That concludes the questions. I'd like to take a couple minutes for board members to collect their thoughts. They'd like being here, but we'll take a few minutes before we go into the voting process. Do any other board members have any follow-ups?
I do, if you don't mind.
You gotta ask for.
That's fine. Well, I can't really ask both of them because the question's pretty specific.
Just go ahead.
In your 10 years' experience on the Frederick County School Board, what is the most prominent things you took from that? Being a board member for 10 years.
When I started on the school board, special education, proficiency was, approximately 7 to 9%. And, and when I left, it was about 50% or slightly higher than 50%. Let that process in your brain for a second. Special education, kids that were, you know, borderline diploma, not diploma bound, okay? Kids that would not necessarily even stay in school. So, yeah, and we by doing that, although we focused on special education, which I say we, but we were a team. I mean, it was really pretty much me, because I was the cheerleader for special education. I was a special education advocate for the school board. But, that being said, we worked as a team. And by doing that, even though you're focusing on a small, reasonably minor group of students, that also reflected as a domino effect on the whole rest of the school system, because it increased your graduation rate, it increased your attendance, it increased your community involvement. I mean, it plowed right straight through many other things. So that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of, is helping the kids that really needed help.
Rachel, I wish I could transfer that over
That's
to
okay.
you.
Yeah, I
In some
understand.
way, you probably had experiences too in your life too. I
Mhm.
just don't know how to transfer that question around to you.
That's okay, I mean, I think.
I mean, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead, no, go
that's a
ahead.
tough one. I'll speak to my personal experiences, 'cause you're right, special education is just such an enormous part, and so much has been learned and growth has been done, and, bringing more inclusivity to the kids that are in special education stuff. I will speak from my personal experience, because school was easy for me. I didn't have to study a lot. It went pretty well. I was very lucky that way. So when I saw my children have challenges that I never had before in my life, I didn't know how to deal with that. It was very different. So researching, getting the help you need, talking to people, learning sometimes just that diagnosis of here's what the challenge is, was just enormous, because it gave me a direction and it gave me something I could put that part of my brain that likes to do the research to. Say, oh, okay, well, what's worked for other people? Well, what has helped their student, their child? And I think I would love to be able to share that with, to bring that kind of perspective into it, and to help parents who maybe don't have the ability to get to that place, but that, just how important it is, so.
Thanks. Anyone else? All right, at this time, we're gonna move to a vote. It's gonna be a roll call. When your name is called, please state the name of the candidate that you vote for to fill the 2-month vacancy.
I think I get scored.
Carrie, please call the roll.
Stephen Yerger,
Donna Bayless.
Danielle Brenneman,
Donna Bayless.
Philip Perez,
Rachel Hutchinson.
Jeannie Ewan,
Donna Bayless.
Mary Brenneman,
Donna Bayless.
Janelle Ressler, Dwayne Sullivan,
Donna Bayless.
Nick Lovell.
Donna Bayless. Congratulations, Donna.
Serious?
Thank you so much for your interview, Rachel.
Absolutely.
Best of luck to both of you in November.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before you adjourn, can I make a sunshine challenge, please?
State your objection.
You have stated the fact that you're going to executive session, but have failed to provide a sufficiently specific reason for that executive session, including a discrete purpose and scope of legal matters. It is not sufficient to say legal matters. It needs to be a discrete purpose and scope per case law such as Reading, Pennsylvania law, and things like that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. Thank you. The Sunshine Act allows for the announcement of the executive session at the public meeting immediately before or after the executive session. The member has requested it, we will have it, and whatever takes place will be announced at the next board meeting.
So I'm sorry, could you say, you're saying they can, just to clarify what you're saying, that what they said isn't sufficient at this time, but it's sufficient if they come back later
The law
and,
that allows the announcement of the executive session either before or after the executive session occurs. So
So-
this one will be announced correctly at the start of the next meeting.
at the start of the next meeting, they will provide something
During the
more,
next meeting.
more specific than legal matters.
And I believe that addresses that.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Next meeting, what time?
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mayor Brennan.
Second?
Second, Danielle Brennan.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.